think.
Let's roll, baby. Welcome in. It is the Week 4 edition of the Ringer Sunday pregame. It's John Jastremski with all the wise guys. Of course, we are presented by FanDuel. Let's welcome in the cast of characters from the New York studios in my humble abode. I'm in Florida. Sal's in New York City. Joe House is back from the Ryder Cup. And, of course, Raheem Palmer in Las Vegas. Now, Sal, first things first, this has a chance to be possibly one of the worst sports days for you imaginable. Good thing Oregon took care of Penn State on Saturday night, because your Mets are heavy underdogs down to miss the postseason. They need a win, and they need a red loss to the Milwaukee Brewers. And then, oh, by the way, it's the return of Micah Parsons going up against your Cowboys now in a Packer uniform. What are you going to be more depressed about when you do guess the lines later on this evening?
I don't know. Can we just fast forward exactly to me crying to Simmons about the happenings of Sunday? Can the Reds just put us out of our misery right now and Micah Parsons return 3 touchdowns so everybody could be gleeful? I'm not liking this Sunday. We're in beautiful New York, which makes it a little more palatable. But for God's sakes, this is not going to be good for me.
A lot of pain and suffering. Now, I want to give our guy Joe House a whole lot of credit, because for months, and I mean months, he went out of his way to tell yours truly, JJ, bet Europe in the Ryder Cup. Put it in your portfolio. Don't think twice about it. Now, the patriotism obviously came out for Joe House because he was at Bethpage Black. He was rocking for the Ryder Cup. House, it was an unbelievable vibe. It was an unbelievable scene. But it was total mutilation by the Europeans, my friend. I mean, at least I had some matchups that made me some money, but no drama, no juice on Sunday. It's going to be an ass whooping, dude.
Yeah, no drama or juice. All of the drama was how many holes, the over-under, our number of holes that F.U. Rory chant was going to break out. I mean, I am dressed in the Euro colors. I promise it's just a coincidence. It's just a coincidence that I'm here rocking the gold and the blue. Tremendous Ryder Cup if you invested in the European side. But I'm staring this losing bet that Simmons and I made on this Vikings game right in the face. I just can't believe it. We got it. We knew the script. We said Carson Wentz was going to be a disaster.
You guys laid points with Carson Wentz in a road game in Dublin.
It's just amazing.
Raheem, be fair on this. When we did our bodega locks for the Ringer 107, and listen, I've given out some terrible, terrible picks. I'm not going to tell you I haven't. But I made a rule, House, and Raheem can attest to this. I said, our team rule, we are not taking any of the international games. Right, Raheem? I was like, we are not taking any of these games, including them in a pick. Can't do it.
Yeah, I was really, really high on the Vikings today. I thought this Pittsburgh Steelers team was absolutely fraudulent. You know, you have a team last week who had 5 turnovers, and they still almost lost the game. So I kind of wanted to fade them in this spot. You know, the last time, Aaron Rodgers was playing an international game against Flores defense, he got dominated. So I thought we were going to see a repeat of that, and that has not happened.
Fellas, we have a game that we are monitoring in Dublin. That's right. It's between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Minnesota Vikings. It is 14-6 Pittsburgh midway through the third quarter. So maybe we have some live bets. Maybe we hop on live. We will monitor that as we do the next hour and change here on YouTube. Let's get to the game of the week, though. It's the Ravens. It's the Chiefs. It's a rematch of the AFC Championship game from 2 years ago. It's a rematch of a thriller we saw in the opening game last year where Isaiah Likely's foot was on the line. And it's a battle of surprising 1 and 2 football teams. Now, Sal, Baltimore is laying points. Obviously, the perception of the Kansas City Chiefs is drastically different than what it's been in years past because they've gotten off to a sluggish start. They didn't exactly knock anybody's socks off going up against the Giants on Sunday Night Football. How, sir, are you looking to play Ravens-Chiefs? Spread is at 2.5, total at 48.5. What are we thinking?
Very tough because one of these teams is going to go 1-3, right? Unless there's a tie. But and we're not getting the best of both teams or either team for that matter. We see the Chiefs. We're kind of used to this, right? 3 years ago, they're averaging 29 points a game. every year since then, it's 21 points a game, whatever. You want to blame no Tyreek Hill? You want to blame too much Tay? You could do that. I'm just taking a prop here, and I'm going Patrick Mahomes to run one in at plus 380. I think he calls his own number, scrambling. No tush push ever because he got injured with the quarterback sneak. But, bootlegs, design runs, he takes off. He's got 2 this season. He had 2 in the playoffs. He takes off about 6 times a game. I think he gets around, and they still haven't adjusted this line, even though he has a couple this year. Plus 380 for Patrick Mahomes to score.
Okay, Joe House, I know normally you see the Kansas City Chiefs getting points, any scenario, automatic bet. Is it an automatic bet in week 4?
Well, it makes sense this week. It wasn't an automatic bet against the Eagles. And, when we set this thing up, look at the teams that the Ravens and the Chiefs have lost to. There really isn't a bad loss in terms of the team matchups. Now, the Ravens' choke job against the Bills was a bad loss. But, like, the Chiefs losing to the Eagles and the Chargers and the Ravens losing to Detroit and the Bills, it's like, okay, these are 2 of the best teams in the NFL, and they had really hard schedule coming out. I am on the Chiefs money line today. It's plus 130. This is both a trend back kind of concept, but also this is super crucial for the Chiefs because their division is so gosh darn tough. The path to the playoffs for the Chiefs, if they lose this game, is incredibly difficult compared to Baltimore. Baltimore, I think, can and will win its division. So we're doing the old this game matters more to the Chiefs thing, but also Patrick Mahomes as an underdog, 12-3-1 against the spread, 11-5 straight up. Lamar Jackson, 1-4 straight up in his career against the Chiefs. And inside the handicap, this is trying to take advantage of the Chiefs getting Xavier Worthy back and getting a little verticality of that offense. The injury still up the middle for the Baltimore Ravens defense with Matabuke out again. Van Noy is a game-time decision, and we saw their inability to stop the run against Detroit last week. I think even though the Chiefs have, by comparison to the Lions, a meager rushing attack, they are going to try and establish Pacheco. He'll get touches. Kareem Hunt, I like him for an anytime touchdown. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But, Baltimore last in the NFL in defensive rush success rate. They're giving up lots of yards on the ground. This is the version of the Chiefs offense that the Chiefs hope to see coming into the season. Worthy verticality, run the ball, control it. I like them getting the win today.
House is going to dominate time of possession today. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, baby, already.
He's already
an hour and a half long show, cuz.
By the way, Sal, are we allowing this as a man's best bet considering it's the Chiefs? Like, does it fit like the we mock the man's best bet category? I know underdogs get smoked every week.
Are 1-2 this season. Come on.
It's plus 130. What are we talking
Raheem's
about?
got a plus 108 coming up, so of course he's going to endorse this one. It's,
okay,
legit.
Raheem, how are we looking to play this game? This is something you don't do a whole lot here on the Ringer Sunday pregame. You're giving us a tease in this spot?
Yeah, I'm giving us a teaser. Typically I stopped playing teasers because the teaser price got really, really expensive, but I can get there on this one. House already listed all of the underdog stats for Patrick Mahomes. So what we're going to do is we're going to play a teaser. Chiefs plus 8.5, and we're going to tease that with the Texans. We'll talk about the Texans game later, but ultimately, if the Texans can't beat Brian Callahan, then I don't know what to say. But when it comes to the Chiefs, obviously the Ravens, they have a ton of injuries. But more importantly, you look at this defense. They are 27th in EPA per play and 29th in defensive success rate. You saw the Lions kind of push them in, and they ran it down their throat like it was like 1950s. So I expect Patrick Mahomes, Xavier Worthy, Thornton to be able to keep it inside of the number. I don't know if they'll win. I think the Ravens are the rightful favorite, but I don't see them getting beat by a touchdown or more.
Fellas, it's interesting. You point out a lot of interesting angles on why to take the Kansas City Chiefs in this game. And Raheem, you are so right. Detroit humiliated Baltimore at the line of scrimmage. They ran it down their throats. It was Gibbs. It was Montgomery. It was the showman Lions that we saw a year ago. I just don't think this Kansas City team has the firepower to go and take advantage of the liabilities for Baltimore defensively. And I think Baltimore is showing up in this game. I think Lamar is showing up. I think Derrick Henry, after the fumble in week 1 against Buffalo, a big fumble in week 3 against Detroit, is going to be ready. I'd go the other way here. I'm taking Baltimore. Now let's move on. We have another big game. A battle of 3-0s in the NFC. The Philadelphia Eagles, who had absolutely no business covering their game, Joe House, last week against the Los Angeles Rams. Yeah, I'm a little salty. Yeah, I'm a little disgusted after what happened. And that's probably the worst beat I'll have all year, but it is what it is. Anyway, the Eagles are 3-0. The Buccaneers are 3-0. So, a lot of people are going to look at this game. They're going to see Baker Mayfield. They're going to want to grab points.
Yeah.
You don't see it that way, amigo. How are we playing Eagles and Buccaneers?
JJ, I want to give you a little credit because I think that was the worst beat, the biggest bet ache you'll see, not only this year, this decade, this century. I mean, that was,
wow,
and it makes me think.
You went there. Thank you. I appreciate that. So does my wise wager.
There's no game the Eagles can't cover, and that's why I'm taking a -3.5 as my wise wager. I've hit 2 in a row. Let's make it 3. And I love Tampa. I love Baker and what he does. He's very exciting to watch, but I feel like he's due to get clobbered here. This could be a Baker 2022, beginning of 2022-esque Baker outing. First of all, he's banged up. That offensive line is still banged up. They talk about Tristan Wirfs coming back. Microscopic surgery on the knee. He's not going to come back to all-pro form. So I like Philadelphia here. No Mike Evans also for Tampa Bay, which stifles the offense to a tune of 40 yards per game passing. 14 penalties for the Bucs last week. Not very disciplined. A lot of it's because of their injuries in the offensive line. And I just think this Eagles front seven dominates. Eagles have won last 9 and 6-1 against the spread on the road in their last 7. Feels like a 30-20 type game. It's my wise wager. Fly, Eagles, fly, whatever.
I'd give it the endorsement, Sal. And look, I know Tampa Bay has had success against Philadelphia. They beat them last year and smoked them in the regular season. They beat them in the postseason 2 years ago. Raheem, we try to identify an underdog that's going to end up being a very public underdog on a given Sunday. Don't you get the sense that Tampa getting 3.5 could potentially be that square dog of the week?
No, I don't get that sense at all. I think
interesting. Okay.
So for me, when I look at this game, I see two teams who, like I said before, they're on fraud watch. The Eagles are 3-0 with a point differential of 14 and a Pythagorean expectation of 1.9 games. And if you remove the blocked field goal return, they would have a point differential of +8. You look at the Buccaneers, they're 3-0 with a +6 point differential and a Pythagorean expectation of about 1.7 wins. So both of these teams are massively overperforming. And it's frustrating for me as a bettor because I come into week 4 and I want to bet against both of these teams. And I can't do that in this spot because they're playing each other. But more importantly, you look at the Buccaneers, they're super duper banged up. And, you know, Sal already hinted on it. Tristan Wirfs is back, and maybe Chris Godwin. But you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, they should be able to run away with this game if they come out and throw. But the problem is Jalen Hurts has never been good against the Todd Bowles defense. He's 1-4 against Todd Bowles. And there's a secret weapon that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have. They have Vita Vea. So that tush-push doesn't necessarily work as well against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If you want my wager on this one, this is probably going to come down to the last possession, and either Baker Mayfield or Jalen Hurts is driving up the field, and that's going to decide the cover.
Fair enough. Raheem doesn't want to go anywhere near Eagles and Buccaneers. Now,
there's fireworks going off behind Raheem. Did you see that? Are we just going to ignore that? I feel like I was going to.
I was just going to let the fireworks live on their own, Sal. You know, sometimes they're the start of the show. Why do I have to acknowledge?
Sorry, I'm distracted by fireworks. I'm like Najee Harris. Sorry.
I was going to say, where you were at on the 70th floor up on our beautiful studios in New York City, if you were there 4th of July, you'd see major fireworks, Sally. It's a great view. One of the best in the city.
There. Yeah. You just don't expect it from a Zoom backdrop. That's all. No.
I understand that. Now, moving on, boys. I didn't have Colts-Rams as a game in week 4 back in August that would fit the major marquee type of description. That's exactly where we're at. Indianapolis has been the feel-good story in the NFL. They're 3-0 on the year. Danny Dimes, or now Indiana Jones, has been top-notch at quarterback. Rams licking their wounds after a game they had no business losing against Philadelphia. Rams favored by 3.5. The total in this game is at 49.5. And as Joe House is well aware, the Rams a week ago were my wise wager for week 3. I was gloating. I was celebrating. I was maybe popping champagne. Maybe I was about to light a victory cigar. I was going to get my first wise wager victory of what has been a very tough start to the 2025 season. Well, I didn't get that. Sal says it was the worst loss in decades and centuries, whatever you want to call it. And you know what I have decided to do, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and cousin Sal, Raheem Palmer, and Joe House? I am going back to the well in week 4 for my wise wager. That's right. The magic, at least for a week, is about to end for Indiana Jones, because what Los Angeles can do as far as getting after the quarterback, I think is going to be incredibly disruptive in this matchup. And I expect the Rams to be ticked off. I expect the Rams to be angry. And this is the first true test the Indianapolis Colts are really having from a road perspective, because a week ago, I mean, you want to call that a true road test against that disgrace of a Tennessee Titan team? Please give me a break. I think a bounce back spot for the Ram defense. Too much Nakua, too much Devontae Adams. I'm going to lay it with the Rams as my wise wager. Let's get our first win of the year. We need it after what happened in week 3. Now, Joe House, you've been the king of the SGP, and we have decided in week 4, because you have been giving us so many profitable SGPs that you just can't give one. You got to give us 2, big boy. Let's go.
This one's just a mini SGP. And if I'm telling the truth, I was in the lab on my way back from the Ryder Cup last night in the car trying to figure out the game plan for this week. And I put a whole multi-leg parlay together for this thing. And then I open up our script, and the cousin Sal's sitting right there with a beautiful 4-legger. So I said, you know what? I still like a couple of legs here. Let me just get them out for the good people. We're going to try and keep hitting these props. Blake Corum over 21.5 rushing yards. That's one leg. And Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes over 219.5 passing yards. That's the other leg, plus 236. The Corum over on the rushing yards is he's getting touches. They're increasing his touches. McVay said, I want to increase his touches. That's what they're doing. 44 yards and 53 yards over the last 2 weeks. Not a huge ask to get here. Kyren Williams is Kyren Williams also. Both of them are in there, busting up the line. But I like him getting to like that 25 to 30-yard range. And then Daniel Jones, here's the thing, man. This game really has shootout potential. It's the highest total on the board. And the weapons for the Colts going up against a super depleted Rams secondary. If he can get the ball out, that Rams secondary is crazy beatable. We watched it the entire second half of that Eagles game. So that's the idea for this little mini SGP.
All right, we got a mini SGP from House. We're going to have a monstrous SGP coming up a little bit later on in the show. Sal, you identified this game as SGP worthy. What's it going to be?
By the way, I love how House says he was in the lab, which means AKA slumped over, drunk in the backseat of an Uber.
I was going to say in the lab. That means transfused. House was transfused, which is good. That's usually the way your best thinking is done, House.
Right.
I mean, yes.
Also, I should just pass on mine. His all hit, so take his SGP and leave mine to the dogs here. But I do have to take JJ. I agree. I think the Rams are going to be angry here, but not as angry as I am with the Rams for betting them plus 3.5. So I had to stay away from them. But I also acknowledge that Indiana Jones and the Colts are due to get there. So I went SGP. Over adjusted 42.5, Nakua 90 or more yards, Daniel Jones 25 or more rushing, and JT, Jonathan Taylor, a touchdown. JT's been on fire, 3 touchdowns last week. The over adjusted 42.5, why not? We got the Rams offense against the Colts, who have punted once this year. Nakua, people love that guy, 90 plus. He's done that in all 3 this year and 6 of the last 7 regular season games. And DJ takes off for 25 or more rushing yards. He's done that 2 out of 3. Pays close to 5-1, but really take House's. He was in the lab, you understand.
I love when House is in the lab. I love when House is transfused. I know what you guys are not going to love, at least 2 of the guys on my screen. Micah Parsons returning to Dallas wearing Green Bay Packers colors. We have the Packers, who are 6.5 road favorites at the Cowboys. No CeeDee Lamb. The total in this game is at 46.5. This game, in a way, could be a rat, Raheem. At least the way I look at it. It's not my rat line of the week. There's one that stands out a little bit more. But it's going to be in every parlay. It's going to be in every tease. So was Kansas City last week, and that did not matter. But you could see a blowout, or you could see one of those games where people who have the Packer parlay saying, oh, how is this tight? How is this a 3-point game? I'm going to my Cowboys fans. Raheem, is there any way this game is close, or are you smelling a blowout?
I do think there's ways that this game can be close. Obviously, you look at the Packers, they're kind of banged up on the offensive line, but the Cowboys are even in a worse position. You look at the Cowboys, right guard Tyler Booker is out. Cooper Beebe is out. So they have two guys on the offensive line who are banged up, and then you're missing CeeDee Lamb. And the more important thing here is that the Cowboys defense is absolutely abysmal. You're talking 31st in EPA per play. They're allowing 3 points per drive, which is 31st in the league. So look, you look at what this defense has done. They've allowed 32 points to a Giants offense that was struggling with Russell Wilson. They allowed 31 points to the Bears, who were struggling. They allowed 24 points to the Eagles in the first half. So there's no way that the Green Bay Packers don't go out here and score 30. And I just don't know if the Cowboys can match up. So the way I'm playing this is that I'm going to lay 13.5 on the alternate spread. It pays plus 200. I think if the Packers are going to cover the 6.5, they're probably going to cover 14 or so. So that's how I'm playing it.
I like that approach. I think it makes a ton of sense. I don't think you have a squeak it out 7-point win for the Packers. Packers win. It's probably by margin. Sal, you're looking to get involved with a player prop for this game? Explain.
Yeah, but I think Raheem played it right here. I mean, you rarely say a plus 200 is a safe bet, but 2-touchdown win for the Packers. They beat us in Dallas in the playoffs. We were all in the same room when that happened a couple years ago, and that's when the Cowboys were good. They beat us by 35 points. So, of course, that's a nice pick there by Raheem minus 13.5. And another good one, Micah Parsons to record a sack, right? That's all anyone's been talking about all week. You get minus 144, you got to lay a little juice. But sometimes everything that everyone talks about, like the sun coming up, Sister Jean retiring, these things actually come to fruition. What the Cowboys should do is hand off every offensive play so that Micah Parsons doesn't get his glory moment right there at sack. But they won't. He's going to drop back, Dak is, between 35 and 40 times, and he will get to him. The quintuple team will be lackluster for at least one play. Micah Parsons gets the sack. Sorry, Jerry. I know you said we lose with Micah Parsons. We lose plenty without him, too. Take, little emotional hedge here. Micah Parsons minus 144 to record that sack.
Not surprised you're going in that direction. Joe House, I am a little surprised because we're getting back-to-back, belly-to-belly SGPs. It's go time, big boy.
Let's go. Yeah, I really thought that I was going to play the Pack here. I think it's a Pack smash spot, but I got nervous. The number stayed at 6.5, and the juice, there's no juice, minus 115 if you lay it with the Pack. So that's that. I smell a rat. I don't like the fact that number didn't move at all the entire week. So I do want to get invested in this game. I think it is a smash spot for the Packers. So we're going to try and keep it simple. 4-leg SGP. The number is bouncing around a little bit between plus 410, plus 425, and that kind of range. We're starting with Jordan Love over 1.5 passing touchdowns. This used to be a thing for this Packers offense. They love to get down near the goal line and throw the ball. He had a stretch in 2023. He was 10-1 on over passing touchdowns, and this is the thing that is informing this handicap. I think the version of Jordan Love, this healthy version of him, is the right way to think about him, as opposed to last year when he was banged up. He still went 10-9 on the over to this bet last year, but we're going with that. Matthew Golden over 45.5. He is. It seems like their deep threat. He ran a route on over 80% of dropbacks last week because Jaden Reed is out. So this is not a big lift. Packers covering by a field goal. Alt spread. Just run it down. Let's keep it simple since this does smell a little bit. And then Josh Jacobs starts a new streak of touchdowns. Anytime touchdown for Jacobs. That's the 4-legger.
And I think we have to ride until it loses. Yeah. That's the bottom line. Joe House continues to give out winners with these SGPs. It's been his calling card. It's been his claim to fame. I am blindly tailing. Although, to your point, Joe House, this game smelling a little fishy. Okay, moving on. Jacksonville. They have a winning record. They're going into San Francisco. Niners have not lost a game this season. The line is at 3.5. The total is at 46.5. And there was a lot of love to a certain team from Northern Florida in the Ringer 107. Cousin Sal, were you one of those guys giving the Jags a little love this week?
Well, not for the 107, but I did pick them for my man's best bet. I can't take the Steelers, right? That's too late. It's too late to take the Steelers for best
bet.
Sorry, buddy. I don't know why I'm doing this as if I'm going to take an AFC South underdog and actually come out a winner, but wait till you see what I'm doing later. I think San Francisco's slightly overvalued. Brock Purdy coming back is going to save all. They lose a prominent player every week, right? Now, Bosa, we saw before that. It's just every single week. It's Kittle, it's Purdy the week before. So you could expect that to keep up. And I just think it's going to be hard to keep Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr. down for a full month. This could be their game to come alive. I like Jacksonville at the beginning of the year. I'm going to give them one more shot here. I think they pull off the upset. They break a 20-year losing streak to San Francisco. It's ridiculous. They haven't beaten them since 2005. They take the W today.
Well, Sal, we are tag teaming on this bad boy. I, too, like the Jaguars to win outright against San Francisco. I just don't love the spot for the Niners. You mentioned the injuries. They're piling up like crazy. You're not going to have Nick Bosa on that defense. The uncertainty about the rust factor with Brock Purdy. Mac Jones has played the last couple of weeks. And it's weird with Jacksonville. They haven't knocked anybody's socks off. This has not exactly been the coming out party that maybe some envisioned with the Trevor Lawrence, Liam Cohen partnership, but they're finding a way to win games. Their defense has been able to get after the quarterback, which is something I like. It's an absolute must in the modern day NFL. It's a must 20, 30 years ago in the NFL. And there weren't a whole lot of other underdogs that stood out to me. So Jacksonville, winning record. I think they're going to improve upon that winning record. And this could be the futures talking, because Sal and I both took Jacksonville to make the playoffs. I have Jacksonville to go and win their division. So we want to see them at least maybe make up a game with the Indianapolis Colts. So I'm riding together, big boy. Give me the Jaguars on the money line at plus 148. Dream, we took them in the ring of 107. So I know I'm getting an endorsement here on 3.5, right?
Yeah, I'm definitely taking the Jags at plus 3.5. I think the only team that suffers more prominent injuries than the 49ers is my beloved Philadelphia 76ers. They got an injury already, and the season didn't even start, So you look at the 49ers, everybody's in the hospital. We know that George Kittle, Nick Bosa. But more importantly, I think Sal hit on something. This team is overvalued. They are 3-0. But have a point differential of plus 10. So, like I spoke about the Pythagorean expectation of the Philadelphia Eagles and the Buccaneers, but it just feels like the entire NFC is fraudulent. So I'm going to take the Jaguars at plus 3.5. I think you're getting a little bit of value, especially with that hook. As I always say, 3 lands about 15% of the time in NFL. I think this could be a 3-point game either way. So getting that hook is key.
A lot of family unity for Jaguars and 49ers. Let's see if we have family unity for a game at 1 o'clock Eastern in New York City. No, it's in East Rutherford. Who are we kidding? The Giants don't play in New York. They play in New Jersey. But forget about where they're playing. The story of this game is the debut of one Jackson Dart, Russell Wilson, out after 3 games. Brian Dable and Joe Shane desperate to save their jobs. In comes the hotshot young quarterback. Fellas, this is my rat line of the week. This game stinks to the absolute high heavens. Why does it stink? Twofold. The Chargers, they've been everybody's darlings, right? Justin Herbert, Jim Harbaugh, unbelievable defense. Yet, 3 straight division games, flying cross country. A little bit of a letdown, but on the same token, Giants are starting a rookie quarterback. Jim Harbaugh against rookie quarterbacks eats them for lunch. I want absolutely nothing to do with this particular game. It stinks. I'm not going near it. I'm not going to be surprised if the Giants win outright. I'm also not going to be surprised if the Chargers go and win by 17 points. It's a rat. It's a rat. It's a rat. I'm not touching it. Raheem, you are touching it, though. You like this for an SGP.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think this is a wrap, but one thing I will say is that the public is all over Green Bay and the Chargers. So
of course they are, Raheem.
If both of these teams cover, it's going to be a bad day for the books, but I don't feel sorry for them at all. But anyway, this is my same game parlay. We're going to go with the Chargers on the money line. I actually gave this out at minus 5.5 on Monday before the Russell Wilson news broke, and now it's 6.5. So I don't really want to lay the worst of it. So we're going to take the money line. I think the Chargers win this game. You look at Jim Harbaugh. You're talking about 14-6 against the spread in September. He's dominant in September. I think they win this game. But next, let's go with Amari and Hampton, over 70.5 rushing yards. This got bet up pretty highly because this Giants defense is 30th in defensive DVOA and dead last against the run. You look at the opponents that they've played this season. You're talking about Washington. You're talking about the Cowboys. You're talking talking about the Kansas City Chiefs. These aren't great run teams, but they average 5.2 yards per carry. And with Hampton getting the bulk of the carries without Najee Harris, he should go over 70.5 on this. Next, let's go with Quentin Johnson over 51.5 receiving yards. This guy is, averaging nearly 80 yards per game on 8 targets per game, so you should get that. And finally, for the last leg of my same game parlay, let's go with Cam Scatterbull over 20.5 rushing yards. Last week, he had 61 receiving yards on 6 catches, 8 targets. I think with a rookie quarterback in there, Jackson Dart, he's going to be the security blanket. And then Tyrone Tracy is out, so we know he's going to get some catches. That's my same game parlay.
Scatterboo, Sally, Scatterboo. I know you want to get in on some Scatterboo, don't you?
JJ, you mentioned that the Giants play in New Jersey. Someone has to tell the dozens of pedestrians I've seen with Cam Scatterboo jerseys crossing the street. It's crazy. Cam Scatterboo mania here. Not even as much Jackson Dart. This is the team's franchise player, even if he scores like 6 touchdowns and runs for 700 yards a year. This is who everyone's excited about, and I am too today, at least for him to score a touchdown. He scored in the last 2. He's a battering ram by the goal line. I think he gets some carries there. He also catches passes, caught 6 against the Chiefs last week. So give me Cam Scatterboo to hit pay dirt at plus 105.
Okay, I like it. Scatterboo hot, scoring touchdowns each of the last 2 weeks. Let's see if he makes it 3 straight. House, what's the bigger rat this week? Packer, Charger?
It's the exact same game with the exact same handicap. I'm gonna say that the Chargers and the concerns that you outlined are the correct concerns. I just don't see a scenario under which Harbaugh loses to Dart. That's all.
I understand. And he has dominated rookie quarterbacks. Moving on. The Carolina Panthers, they looked outstanding a week ago against the Atlanta Falcons. Smoked them. They now go on the road to New England. They take on a Patriot team that turned the ball over 5 times against the Pittsburgh Steelers last week. Patriots laying 5.5. Totals at 43.5. By the way, you could take this to the bank. This was my wise wager. I audibled on Friday. I was feeling Ram vibes, so you should just bet the Patriots now because we know what happens as far as that goes. But there may be a certain someone that has this as a wise wager, and that's good news for that certain someone. It's Raheem Palmer. Raheem, who do you like in this game?
Yes, I'm laying it with the Patriots minus 5.5. Now, you look at both of these two teams. They were on the opposite end of the luck spectrum last week, so let's go fade with whatever we saw last week. You look at the Panthers. They were getting 5 at home against the Atlanta Falcons. And now they're catching 5.5 on the road against the New England Patriots. How does that make sense? Are you telling me that the Atlanta Falcons are that much better than the Patriots? This line should be in the 7 or 8 range. Next, let's look at the Panthers. They won 30-0 last week, but only had 224 yards of offense and 4.1 yards per play. Like, you look at the metrics for that game, that should have been a 3 to 5 to 6 point win. Instead, they win 30-0 because Atlanta kept turning the ball over and missing field goals. Meanwhile, you look at the New England Patriots, they are much better than what they showed offensively last week. They had 14 points, but they gained 369 net yards and averaged 5.2 yards per play. They only lost that game because they had 5 turnovers. Yes, 5 turnovers, 2 in which inside were in the 5-yard line. So they should have won that game going away. And had they won that game, this line would be in the 7 or 8 range. More importantly, you look at the Panthers, they cannot generate pressure. They're dead last in pressure rate 7% of the time. I think Drake May, not Drake Maybe, as Sal says, is going to have a great day. I'm laying it with the Patriots minus 5.5.
I think it's a great play, Raheem. And questions on that offensive line for the Carolina Panthers. New England, very impressive defensive front. Ticked off, angry New England team after what happened a week ago against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I love the spot. I think you were going to have yourself a winner on Sunday, and I like it that much more, Raheem, because of the fact that I decided to audible out of it for a wise wager. Speaking of Drake Maybe, Sal, you have a thought here.
I do. My first thought is I was hoping during the show this line would move to 6, and then Raheem, they win 27-21, and Raheem pushes on his wise wager again because I know he loves doing that so much. But, yes, Drake Maybe. For him to maintain, for this nickname to stick, he kind of has to be in the touchdown, 1 touchdown, 1 interception every game kind of thing. but I'm going over 1.5 touchdown passes for maybe. Maybe he's like 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, then we could still call him maybe. Carolina, as Raheem said, coming off 30-0 win. That was their Super Bowl. They're a little hungover coming into New England. And if Vrabel is going to, I think this is a Vrabel is good. We forgot how good a coach he is kind of game. There's not going to be that many for the Patriots, but I think that's kind of what we're looking at here. And maybe he had 2 versus the Steelers. He had 2 versus Miami, multiple passing touchdown games last year. Give me Drake maybe over 1.5 touchdown passes.
Boys, I am in South Florida to watch the toilet bowl. That's right, the toilet bowl between the 0-3 New York Jets and the 0-3 Miami Dolphins. It is a Monday Night Football game. The good news for America, there's another Monday Night Football game. Hallelujah for that. Dolphins favored by 2.5. Total is at 44.5. Raheem, despite the fact that these two teams are 0-3 on the year, I think there's some sneaky over potential. Jet defense banged up. Dolphin defense stinks. I think we're going to have points between the Dolphins and the Jets. There's an angle you'd like to attack here. What's the angle in this game?
Let's go with the Miami Dolphins team total over 23.5. You look at this Jets defense. There was a period of time where everybody thought the Detroit Lions would miss Aaron Glenn as a defensive coordinator. But at this point in time, you look at the Jets defense, they've given up 34 points to the Steelers, 30 points to the Buffalo Bills, 29 points to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are missing 3 offensive linemen. So how can you trust this defense at all? For as much talk as, we talk about Tua and, maybe he might be out of the league soon, they should be able to score on this defense. So let's go team total over 23.5. I want to remind everybody, 24 is a key number. So at 24, you kind of got to stay off of this one.
Get it now, get it now, get it now. Since I'm in South Florida, since I'm going to be in the building, I got to throw in an SGP. Of course, you want to ride with this. I need the good vibes from Joe House on this Miami Dolphin New York Jets SGP. I am taking the Dolphins to go and get their first win of the year. I'm holding my nose as far as that goes. Justin Fields making his return to the starting lineup. I'm going to take him to go get 40-plus rushing yards against the Dolphin defense that I think is going to over-pursue in trying to stop the run. I think Justin Fields breaks a couple of plays. Malik Washington, remember the name. A lot of attention to Hill. A lot of attention to Waddle. 15-plus receiving yards. Like him to find 15 with ease. And then last but not least, Jalen Waddle. He's scored each of the last 2 weeks. I think he will score for the 3rd straight week. So Dolphins money line, Fields 40 rushing yards, Malik Washington 15-plus receiving yards. And I'm going to be doing a little Waddle with a little anytime touchdown at plus 874 for this SGP. Now, Cousin Sal, the cast of thousands join you throughout the course of the week. I mean, we've had a lot of good guests already. We had some fun with my former quarterback, the guy who Tua, dare I say, took his job from a couple of years ago. His beard is great. He's flashing a dad bod up in Buffalo. Ryan Fitzpatrick's hanging with Cousin Sal. Let's go here.
He's a delightful man. He threw out the first pitch the other day, a little lackluster there in front of the mound, 15 feet, but we forgive him because he gave us this
Do
interview.
we? That's lame. Thoughts. I'm disappointed on that.
I don't love
That's
it
very
either.
lame.
I don't love it either. But Jackson Dart was in his thoughts, and here's what he said. So you've been on all sides of this as a starter, a backup, and how tough a spot is this week for Jackson Dart to get thrown in there against what I think is like a pretty intense Chargers defense?
Right. They could have waited a week and played the same, put him in against this, right?
Right.
Looking at that schedule for the Giants when it came out, really tough schedule for them. And I thought it was going to happen after our game in week 6 because Thursday night game, then you've got, a few extra days and coaches love to do it that way. But they're feeling the heat. They're feeling the pressure right now. Russ obviously played great in that week 2 game, just had the turnover at the end, but it's going to be difficult for him to come in. The problem is, quarterbacks going into situations, you'd love to have a great defense. You'd love to establish a great running game. And the Giants just haven't been able to do that yet. I think their defense is a little bit more talented than they've been playing. But it's going to be a tough spot for Jackson Dart and a tough spot for Brian Dable, too. But obviously, this is a Hail Mary for him to try to save his job and show some development and some progress with Jackson.
Yeah, so I was just going to ask you that, and you answered it. So, Daboll, this is really just to save people are like, why did he make this decision so early? I think he's working backwards and saying, I don't have this job next year unless we're somehow miraculously like 9-8, maybe 8-9, right?
Yeah, and my thing is, I still would have waited a few weeks because you're throwing him into the Sharks. You're throwing him into a situation where offensively, you guys aren't doing a lot of things right, and that's the problem is he's not going to be able to come in and be the savior. I think the advantage of having Jackson Dart in right there right now, obviously, like it's going to give them juice. It's going to give him a little bit of a boost and a burst for this week. And the second thing is he's more athletic than Russell Wilson at this point in Russell Wilson's career. So he's going to be able to use his legs a little bit more. You'll probably see a little bit more up tempo. You'll probably see a little bit more spread, maybe, the empty stuff, because that's what Jackson Dart is comfortable with. But it's a tough situation all around to play quarterback there right now.
Good stuff, boys. Welcome back to the Ringer Sunday pregame. Presented, of course, by our friends at FanDuel. Cousin Sal, Raheem Palmer, Joe House, John Jastremski. And we can obviously read and enjoy your YouTube comments, interact with us, hang with us, mock me. Don't mock Raheem Palmer. He's the best. And definitely don't mock Joe House. Although, Joe House, we got a YouTube comment from a certain someone who would like to proclaim that you look like the young boy from Jerry Maguire who grew up to become this illustrious sports agent with his hat and his blazer and his vibe. House, I think that's a compliment. He was a cute little kid.
I'll take it. That's a win. Yeah, cute kid and sports agent. Great career, definitely.
By the way, not only is that a compliment, that's a great sequel. Let's produce that thing. The little kid from Jerry Maguire becomes a sports agent. We're all over that.
I was going to say, Sal, you know enough people in Hollywood. That's your next production.
Yeah, they don't talk to me anymore, but I can meander around. We can get it through.
All right, you meander, you figure that out. All right, boys, let's get back to the action. We have a Cleveland team that pulled off an incredible upset a week ago against the Green Bay Packers. Now going into Detroit. Detroit is everybody's flavor of the month. It's amazing how this works with certain teams, but after you go and smoke the Baltimore Ravens the way they did in a primetime game, there's no longer the conversation about Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn and, hey, how are you going to survive not having these coordinators? Lions feeling pretty good about things. They're 2-1 on the year. They're laying 9.5 in this particular game, Sal. And this is a little bit of a buyer beware spot for me. Lions looked a little too good on Monday. Short week. Browns defense can play. That Browns defense is super impressive. Now, going on the road, I know they're a little bit better at home. This is my OMG bet of the day. I'm holding my nose here. I'm taking Cleveland to cover the number. Am I certifiably insane? I am. I answered my own question. But for this particular wager, is this an OMG one or am I a nut job?
No, anytime you're ever betting the Cleveland Browns, it's an OMG. So credit goes to you. But, yeah, I think it's a rough spot because both teams are due kind of to let down, right? The Lions with the big win over the Ravens. How did they get up for the Browns now? And the Browns, how they pulled off that miracle against the Packers. But you're right about this defense, and that's why I'm going under 44.5. Number one, overall defense, 204 yards per game. That's ridiculous. Number one, rush defense, they allow 57 yards a game. And number four, pass defense, 147 a game. This in combination, like I said, with the Lions not getting up for this ball control type matchup until Flacco gives it up in the fourth quarter. Not saying don't put the Lions on a money line parlay, but I like the under better, 44.5. Seems like a 23-17 Lions win.
All right, so you're feeling a low-scoring game. Dream, you think this is another Lion beatdown?
Yeah, I actually do. This is interesting to me because my model actually makes this game 11. So at 9.5, I see enough of a threshold for me to bet this one. And you look at this Cleveland defense. I know it's a lot of talk about how great the defense is, but they still got blown out by the Baltimore Ravens, and they were down 10 with 4 minutes to go against the Green Bay Packers. And, there were a couple plays that the Packers left on the field. You look at that Matthew Golden, bomb in which he just runs out of bounds instead of running to the end zone. And I think you look at this Lions team, just talk of them, not really getting up for this game. But if you look at them during the Dan Campbell era, they've covered 70% of their point spread. So they kind of get up for every single game. And Cleve TA actually made a great point about this Cleveland Browns offense. And the non-Jameis starts, they're only averaging 13 points per game. And you're talking about like a sample size of 16. Like, so they haven't been able to score when Jameis Winston has not been playing quarterback. And right now, Joe Flacco is out there. And I just think the Lions should be able to cover this number. So I'm a late at 9.5. It's kind of ugly. It's kind of hard, especially coming off the short week. But I think the Lions put the smack down here.
Fair enough. Let's head down to Atlanta. Joe House's Washington Commanders, a 2.5-point dog against the Falcon team that couldn't have looked worse a week ago against the Carolina Panthers. Total in this game hovering around 43.5. House, you see words have a winning record. Trying to figure out how. To be honest, we haven't gotten Jaden Daniels on the field. You win a game last week with special teams and Marcus Mariota. Hate the spot for your football team. However, everybody and their mother likes the Falcons. That's usually good news for people that root for a certain team. When everyone is lining up on one side, you happen to be on the other side. But this is a game that's OMG worthy for you.
Yeah, I am riding with the Atlanta Falcons to cover by a full touchdown in this game. It's a brutal spot for Washington. They came off of exactly the right kind of script in beating the Raiders, and they caught the Raiders at a great spot. Well, now the Falcons are catching Washington in a great spot. In the first place, the Falcons, after that 30-0 no-show against the Panthers, the trends are enormously favorable for a team that loses in that manner to come back and cover the spread the following week. But more importantly to me, this was a game in Week 17 that determined both of these teams' playoff fortunes. Washington won in overtime, really only because Raheem Morris messed up the clock. Washington should have been in a position where they had a game-winning field goal, Atlanta, except for Morris messed it up. So these two teams with Jaden Daniels and all the offensive weapons were close in Week 17. Now it's Marcus Mariota, no Terry McLaurin. The defensive backfield for Washington is depleted, and it's a huge get-right spot for this Falcons team that fired their wide receivers coach, brought their offensive coordinator down to the football field so that Penix can call plays. They haven't gotten any chunk plays down the field. This is it. I think this Falcons offense gets humming, takes advantage of this depleted Washington situation by 7. It's 2-1 odds. Go ahead and lay it.
How's betting against the U.S. and the Ryder Cup and betting an adjusted spread against his Commanders? What is going on with this guy?
Let's go.
He likes money. I like the play. I think you're on the right side of it. You were clearly on the right side of the Ryder Cup, that's for sure. Raheem, curiously, at 2.5, is there still value with Atlanta?
No. This was one of my favorite picks of the week, and I would have a bet on this show. But at 2.5, you got to remember this line did open 3, +3 on Atlanta, and now we're all the way up to 2.5. And I really, really like Atlanta this week. So if you could find an in-game opportunity, I think that would be the way to approach it. Like I said before, I spoke about how I wanted to fade the Carolina Panthers because they were really lucky. Well, the Falcons were, they were unlucky. I mean, they had 5 yards per play compared to the Panthers, 4.1 yards per play. They had 332 total yards compared to 224 total yards for the Panthers. So that game kind of really just got away from them. They missed 2 field goals in the first quarter. I think they should be able to win this game, but current number, I just can't do it.
Fellas, let's get to a game where I think there's going to be a whole lot of takes from the wise guys here on this Week 4 Ringer Sunday pregame. Chicago, they got their first win of the year. They put up a zillion points against the pathetic Cowboy defense. They go to Vegas. Vegas was everybody's darling after Week 1 beating the Patriots. They stunk against the Chargers. They stunk against the C-words. Vegas is laying 1.5 in this matchup. Total, it's pretty high at 47.5. Now, Joe House, I'm still salty that you won your wise wager last week. Not going to lie. It still bothers me. But I love you, and I want you to win this wise wager. You're playing this game. What is your wise wager to try to get you, sir, to 3-1 on the year?
Yeah, earlier in the week, I wasn't sure what to do with this game. I really like the idea of Vegas here. I couldn't get there, but I have since, once again, that same car ride. I was in the lab Trying to recover, and somehow Vegas just landed on my plate, and this is the correct side to me. This is the Bears defense that is among the bottom 3 in the entire NFL, and it was a really tough spot for the Raiders last week going into Washington after a Monday night beatdown against the Chargers, one of the best defenses in the league. I think this is a get-right spot for Vegas. I think what we saw out of the Chicago offense was a little bit smoke and mirrors because as soon as CeeDee Lamb got hurt for the Cowboys, the game script got altered, and the Cowboys defense, there's just no takeaways other than them making somebody look like a Hall of Famer every week. So I like the Raiders at home. I think they're going to try and run the ball. I think they're going to really commit to Ashton Genty getting off. The Bears are the right team to do that against. And Geno at home, Geno in a dome. It's a good spot for Vegas to just lay the 1.5, and that's what I'm doing.
Raheem, normally you and Mr. House are side by side. In this matchup, not so fast. Man's best bet, perhaps?
Yeah, so there's not a lot of dogs that I necessarily thought could win outright. But when I look at this game, I have the sneaky suspicion that the Las Vegas Raiders are one of the worst 5 teams in the league. And
Okay.
Yeah, and I know I'm kind of making a big leap here, but I look at Geno Smith. He's 28th in success rate. The Raiders are 26th in offensive EPA per play and dead last in success rate. And they haven't played a murderer's row of defenses at all. They played the Commanders, Patriots, and Chargers. And most people will tell you the only great or good defense on that list is the Chargers. So I just don't know if they can even capitalize on this Bears defense. You look at Ashton Genty. I mean, he's getting no push at all. He's getting nowhere to run. I mean, this guy, I'm not going to call him a bust. I just think the offensive line is really, really bad. And Brock Bowers has been banged up. And I do think Caleb Williams has found something within that Bears offense. You know, he got sacked 0 times last week. And I know people say that's the Cowboys, but he got sacked 68 times last year. So I think Ben Johnson is changing things. And here's a stat that I find interesting because we talk about last week being the bad spot with Oakland having to fly east. Well, when you look at, Vegas, you look at Vegas, they're coming back home west. And a lot of times when those West Coast teams fly east and they have to come back home, Vegas and Oakland specifically, you know, when they were in Oakland, they are 22, 34, and 2 against the spread since 2003. So that's the worst mark in that span. So I think, you know, a lot of times when you travel, you got to come back home. You got to see your family. You got to see the wife. You got to see the kids. You got to see your homies. It's kind of bad for you. And I also think, you know, what's my guy's name? The head coach.
Pete Carroll.
Pete Carroll.
I just don't think – I think his time is up. And like I look at Bill Belichick, I think at a certain point you hit that wall. I think Pete Carroll has hit that wall, and I think Geno Smith is done. So the Bears are about to go on a bye. I think this is a good spot to play them as a dog. That's my man's best bet.
Wow, Raheem out on the Raiders. I'm going to side with Joe House on this game. I don't like the spot for Chicago, and my feeling on it, Raheem, is I don't want to get nuts about what Caleb Williams did a week ago against your crummy Cowboy defense. I need to see Caleb Williams go on the road against a desperate football team and show me something. Is he going to be able to handle Max Crosby on Sunday? I'm going to bet against that. Sal? You with me in house? You're going to side with Raheem? We'll let you break the tie, maybe.
No, I'm with none of you lunatics. I think that you should stay away from this game. This is my rat line. Well, first of all the 1.5 lines, the tic-tac lines I try to stay away from, and also Raiders lines in particular. They should just call them the Las Vegas Ratters at this point because what do you have? You have, like everyone just said, Caleb Williams is not going to get 7 yards per play like he did against the Cowboys, and yet why is it just 1.5? Pete Carroll had to have this game circled on the schedule as one of the Raiders' few wins. I just don't like it at all. This is a stay away. I'm not buying it. I'm not selling it either. I'm staying away from Vegas, which is probably a good idea for me in general.
You know, one thing I will say
enough.
is that all the sharp money is on the Raiders. So I realize I'm on an island. Typically, I'm on the sharper side. But I just think at this point in time, I want to take a stand. And I bought into the Chicago Bears to start the season. I said they were, you know, potentially be a fringe playoff team. And if they're going to be that, I think it starts here. And I just do like the fact that their bye is next week. They got an early season bye. So I think a lot of times when you have those early season byes, and you have a chance to go into a bye with the 2-2, this is a kitchen sink spot, as Bill Simmons says.
All right, fair enough. Speaking of a game I don't want to take a stand on because the spread is outrageous. It's New Orleans and Buffalo. I took in my knockout. Other than that, I have no desire to watch this game. I think Buffalo is going to win by a zillion points. Or are they? Cousin Sal, you laying a lumber?
I don't know. Listen, I get everybody betting the Saints here. I mean, Spencer Rattler gets lucky on a tip pass. It's caught for a touchdown, a backdoor cover. But I think there's some value in taking these monster teams and adjusted it even further. I did this with the Ravens over the Browns. I think I laid 23.5. They won by 24. That paid close to 4-1. I'm adjusting the Bills to 27.5. They either score in the 30s or 40s. They have a 20-point win. Last year, they had a 37, a 25, a 26 at Highmark. And, if they want, they could score 45 at home. Let's face it. So they lay 27.5. We come back with a nice payday here. You get 4-1 odds on it.
All right, OMG, Monster Bill win. Raheem, am I going to be sweating out this survivor pick?
You're not going to be sweating out the survivor pick, but I think if you're laying 14.5, and it was 15.5 with the Buffalo Bills, you're going to be sweating this one out. This is my oh my God pick. I wanted it at 15.5, but unfortunately it did move to 14.5 here. Look, the Bills defense hasn't been great. Matt Milano, Ed Oliver, Spencer Brown are all out for this game. And I think the back door is going to be open for this game. And I think the Buffalo Bills are looking at this game as this is a game where it's not a divisional game. It's a non-conference opponent. Let's just win and get out of here. Josh Allen probably won't do too much running. It's no reason to risk and, go all out against this bad Saints team. And I think the Saints are going to be motivated coming off of that Seahawks game. And, they had a lot of turnovers. So I think they cut back on the turnovers and maybe they keep this one inside the number.
Guys, this Steeler-Viking game about to get a little interesting. It's 24-14 Pittsburgh, inside of 2.5 minutes to play, but second and goal for the Vikings. The problem is Minnesota only with one timeout and a 2-minute warning, so time kind of working against them. I know Sal has the Steelers in a ring of 107. I know Raheem will mock me if Minnesota somehow covers because it will be my doing because I kind of put the juju in the kibosh in the air. I hope so. I hope so. I need the Steelers. I bet them. We mentioned the New Orleans Saints. There's a certain someone who knows a thing or two about New Orleans. We hung with him in New Orleans last year. He is the Ringers sensation, the great, the legend, the icon, Van Lathan. He wanted to give us a guest pick after doing a Ringer tailgate on Saturday. Van, you getting involved with the NFL now? What do we got, buddy boy?
Sal, House, JJ, Raheem, what's up? I want to help people win some money. Me right here, the sharpest brain in the industry. I see one, and it's Texans versus Titans. I think the Texans are a 7-point home favorite. It's going to be a tight game. That's going to be a tight game. I don't think the Texans cover that. Now, both teams are 0-3, 0-4, whatever. They haven't won. Who cares? Whatever. Nobody's won. They're killing me in fantasy. But in reality is where this game is going to be happening in terms of the line. And I'm going to be honest with you. I defy that line if I was someone. I would take the Titans to destroy that. I don't think the Texans are going to win by the approved spread. You see that change behind me? See how that happened? See how I made that happen? I give you the line. I change your pockets. I change your life. Appreciate you guys.
Van, I love you, buddy. But I have a rule now that I am subscribed to. Friends don't let friends bet on Brian Callahan. After last week and the Indianapolis, Tennessee game, it is official. Friends don't let friends bet on Brian Callahan. Sal, are you going to take my advice? No, because you don't want to take my advice. Well, you're a buddy of mine. You're a pal. You can't bet on Brian Callahan.
Well, I have a policy as well, JJ, and it goes like this. Anytime you can get 3-1 odds against the lowest scoring team in the league, you take it. 12.7 points for Houston. And by the way, it probably could be worse than that. I don't care what kind of game it is. I don't care if it's in Bethpage or Houston or it's a bocce tournament in Venice. I don't care. I'm taking the 3-1 odds. I mean, even the Titans get to 17 points. So there's no saying that Houston's going to get it together anytime soon. I know. Listen, by the way, I think Raheem has Houston, he said earlier, on a money line parlay or a teaser. He's probably the only guy I respect, I know, that would play Houston on a teaser this week. All the teaser guys are all over Denver and the Packers and everybody else. I'm taking a chance. Titans plus 310. That's my OMG.
Boys, just remember, it's on record. Friends don't let friends bet on Brian Callahan, right, House?
That's the rule. until we see something out of the Titans that suggests a competently run football team, we don't do it.
We're not doing it. Okay, we have a second Monday night game. I think this one will be a little bit more entertaining than the one in South Florida, although I don't know what your definition of entertaining and exciting may be. It's the Bengals, who got absolutely steamrolled by Minnesota last week as a 7.5-point underdog with Jake Browning at quarterback, taking on a Bronco team that's trying to figure out what's what. A lot of hype, a lot of expectations at the start of the year. Joe House, Raheem Palmer, John Jastremski all bet on them to go and make the postseason. They have some work to do. You know, Joe House, I know this is a lot of points. I know Jake Browning can put up yards and can move the ball with Chase and Higgins. But doesn't this reek of a great get-right spot for Denver? Back at home, turnover-prone quarterback on the other side. Get that defense humming, rev up the engines a little bit. Game Bo Nix should maybe be able to find his sea legs. I have no problem including Denver in any money line parlay, tease, what have you. I love the Broncos this week.
Yeah, I understand the thesis for Denver. To me, it's too many points. I'm not laying 7.5 with this version of Bo Nix, which might be the real version of him. He might stink because this Denver team continues the combination of his underperformance and their own self-defeating, unnecessary, self-sabotaging mistakes. This Denver team with Sean Payton should be doing better. He's supposed to be one of those coaches you can trust to not be putting the ball on the field, interceptions at the wrong time, stupid penalties. They just continue to do this. I'm not laying all those points. And Cincinnati comes into this game off of a blowout situation, and there is a great trend about teams be very careful. The line gets inflated when a team the previous week looks as bad as the Cincinnati Bengals did, and nobody looked worse than them. 7.5 too many points for me, especially with 43.5 as the total.
We'll spend more time on this in 24 hours when House, Raheem, and yours truly reconvene for Ringer Gambling, East Coast bias style. Boys, it's week 4. I'm feeling the Florida vibe. Sal's in the food capital of the world in New York City. He's going to eat like a gavone over the next 5 to 6 days. I can't wait to hear about all the meals at Frankie's, Lucali, or here or there. He's going to be everywhere. It's time for us to get in the kitchen and deliver some anytime touchdown winners. Let's cook up the family meal. Sal, I know you're going to be doing some good eating, but I need a good tasty meal right out of the gate. Anytime touchdown. Who we got?
Yeah, this isn't everyone's favorite. Mashed potatoes, though. As I said last week, you can't really screw it up. Jalen Hurts, anytime touchdown, can't really screw it up. We're going to throw some lobster on those mashed potatoes to celebrate our recent success with this prop bet. I can't believe it's minus 118. It was minus 135. We have to embrace the tush push as long as it's here, right? So I know it's like getting a molar extracted. It hurts, but you know it's for your better being. So that's what we're doing. Jalen Hurts to score. Let me go through all the numbers. 4 this year, 1 in every game, 5 in the playoffs last year, 15 out of the last 18 regular season games. Tush push to pay dirt. Let's do it. Minus 118. That's a ridiculous thing.
Time out. You got to tell me where I can get some lobster mashed potato. I've heard of lobster mac and cheese. I've heard of lobster and rice. Fried rice, but where is the lobster mashed potato?
Did I make that up? Maybe I made that up.
I was going to say, I've never heard of lobster mashed potatoes. And I love
between
lobster.
that and the Jerry Maguire sequel, we could be onto something. This could be a big week for us.
This show.
I don't know. I'll stick with the lobster mac and cheese. Anyway, Joe House, you mentioned the Raven-Chief game. You were eyeing an anytime touchdown for a Chief running back. Who's the back?
Yeah, I like the idea of this Chiefs team trying to establish the run for the first time this season against anybody, and the Ravens are a good candidate for it. So we're playing Kareem Hunt at better than 2-1 odds for an anytime touchdown. He's the backup running back, but he gets the goal line touches here. And we just watched Baltimore get run all over by David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. David Montgomery, the goal line guy, getting the touchdowns. Kansas City methodical on offense, long drives deep into Baltimore territory. Then Kareem Hunt, go ahead and get one across. He get maybe through the ends, because the best thing about Kansas City barbecue, I know that all the barbecue is controversial. The burnt ends are undefeated.
Sounds delightful.
No doubt.
I'm going with the other running back. Point for the Baltimore Ravens. I think he's going to be angry. I think he's going to be ticked off. I think he's going to have a heavy workload. Give me Derrick Henry, who's had 2 monster fumbles in week 1 and in week 3 at a discount at -142. Just throwing this out there. Wise Wager's been hurting. Joe House has been hot with the SGPs. We are 3 for 3 with the anytime touchdowns. Let's make it 4 for 4. Mr. Henry, the king. A tomahawk steak for the boys. Let's cash. Raheem, we need one more. We got 2 running backs in the Baltimore KC game. We got a tush push from Jalen Hurts. Let's complete the 4-leg parlay. What do we got there?
Yeah, I'm bringing some tacos to the table. We know everybody in LA likes some tacos. So we're going to go with Amarian Hampton. Anytime touchdown, -113. I already broke down all the stats about the Giants, how they can't stop the run, how they're dead last against the run. Well, Amarian Hampton is going to be the benefactor of that. So let's go Hampton, anytime touchdown.
Let's take a look at the anytime touchdown family meal. It's going to pay right around 17-1. It's a juicy, juicy price. Jalen Hurts for an anytime, Mr. Hampton for an anytime, Kareem Hunt, which is really jacking up that price. Thank you, Joe House, at +230. And then Derrick Henry at -142. A little under 18-1. Come on, baby. Let's go.
At some point, we're going to hit one of these. I don't know when. It might be 3 seasons from now, but we're going to hit one.
Raheem, if you build it, they will come. Now, Cousin Sal, before we say goodbye.
Yeah.
Your Mets, they are +185, give or take, on FanDuel. It might have changed. I looked earlier this morning. They're +185 to make the playoffs, which is weird because the Reds are underdogs in their game against Milwaukee. Mets a slight favorite against the Marlins with Manaea on the mound. Twofold question for you. Number 1, do the Mets win the regular season finale? 2, do the Mets find their way into the postseason tournament late night against the Dodgers?
I'm going to crystallize it for you, JJ, and answer both questions and give you a parlay, because this is how my day is going to go. The Mets are going to win. They're probably going to score 5 runs in the first. It's not going to be close. They'll win like 10-2. And then the Reds will win in walk-off fashion after coming from behind.
Well,
so
they can't win in walk-off fashion. They're on the road.
No, right. Okay. All right. So they'll win. They'll figure it out a way somehow. So that's
Close
2.
enough.
And then Green Bay -13.5. Let's take Raheem's bet. You put all 3 together. That's +10-14. That's my miserable Sunday. Good luck to all of us.
Wow. So alternate spread Packers.
Yeah.
Mets.
And Reds.
Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And you know what's so crazy? I know today's going to be a bad day because the Cousin Sal special didn't hit.
Right. You're right. That's happening too. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my goodness. You got a 4th and 1 here in this Viking game? Okay, so we'll keep tabs on that. Sally, enjoy New York City. I'll see you later in the week. I'm glad that you're keeping the sea warm, though. Studio looks good.
Love you guys. Yeah, it's a little chilly in here, but otherwise, I love it.
All right, we say goodbye to Cousin Sal. We're going to welcome in Anthony Dabbundo momentarily. Let's take a look at those wise wagers for week 4. Sal rolling with the Philadelphia Eagles, laying 3.5 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. For Joe House, and this is one I really like, Raiders -1.5 against the Chicago Bears. I'm trying to get off the schneid here after last week's heartbreak and anguish with the Rams. I'm a sucker for punishment. I'm going right back to the well. I'm sure Dabbundo is going to love that I am fading his team again. And Raheem, good news for you. I audibled that at the Patriots, so that means they'll probably win by 1,000 against the Carolina Panthers. So those are our 4 wise wagers. We now welcome in Anthony Dabbundo. Dabbundo, looking tan, looking spiffy. Your Colts are 3-0. Life is good, huh?
Life's great. JJ, I saw your wise wager. I cringed a little bit. I don't like it. I think you're underrating Indiana Jones, but I actually do think the Rams will score a lot of points today. So I'm a little worried about the Colts defense in this matchup. I don't think it's a good matchup for them without Kenny Moore, but offensively, I think they have the pass blocking to hold up against the pass rush and then get to this pretty overrated Rams secondary. So
Isn't that the key to the game, though, for you guys, Dabbundo? I feel like you have to hold up on the line because the Rams secondary can be beat. I just am a little fearful of what that Ram front could do to Jones and force a couple of mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the Denver front bring a lot of pressure. They brought extra blitzes. They tried to get after Jones. And look, to his credit, Danny Dimes, he held up under pressure. He made some throws under pressure in that game that were really, really impressive. So I think they'll be okay. I think it'll be a high-scoring game, and then we'll see.
Okay. We'll get to your wise wager. We'll get to the rest of the week 4 card. But you are a big-time baseball guy, Dabbundo. It is a great 162. I mean, listen, I'm going to be in Florida. I'm going to have 10 zillion TVs on at the bar. I'm going to make sure Mets Marlins has one of them. And you know I will have my attention on the Yankees, who need a win and a Toronto Blue Jay loss in order to go and make the postseason or to win the division. They're in the postseason. I don't want to be playing Tuesday against the Red Sox or the Tigers or whoever. Do you have a thought on how the action in baseball could potentially play out today?
Did Mike Tomlin just punt on 4th and 1?
He punted on 4th and 1, but it didn't matter because Carson Wentz threw an interception on the first pass with 1 minute to go. The game is over. Carson Wentz, only so long fake doves can pretend.
You know what? Thank God, Raheem. So, Dabbundo, Raheem and Ariel wanted me to take the Vikings this week in 107, and I said, we're not laying points with Carson Wentz in a game in Dublin, Ireland. I refuse to do so. I'm glad that we laid off that. Hallelujah.
House, did you guys lay points in the game in Dublin, Ireland?
Of course. What kind of question is that? You know, Bill Simmons and I, you know what we do. We said this is the dumbest bet. We broke every single rule, but we were like, oh, the Minnesota pass rush. Like literally every element of the script. Aaron Rodgers runs for his life down the middle of the field in the first half. The ball gets punched out from behind, bounces right to a Pittsburgh Steelers lineman. Yep. I mean, the goddamn Tomlin voodoo in full effect across the board. Wentz is a Wentz. Wentz is a pumpkin. Duh. Of course the Vikings got their ass handed to them.
If we weren't in competition, House, I would actually feel sorry for you, but we are. So,
Pittsburgh dominated the game. Wait a second. Pittsburgh was in control the whole way.
That interception just came back, so the Vikings still have a chance.
They still have a chance. Okay, we'll keep you updated.
It's
Raheem is ahead of me. I'm watching the
Steelers.
Interception right now, and I'm seeing that he didn't get the second foot down. So
it's so frustrating betting against the Steelers because even if you look at this game, the Vikings are winning the box score, but as always, the Steelers find a way to generate more turnovers. And we know in the NFL, the team who wins the turnover battle wins 70% of the time. So it's tough.
Okay, Dabbundo, before we get these wise wagers, here we go. Quickly, Mets in or out?
Out. I think the Marlins are pretty live today. I mean, Sean Manaea.
I'm thinking of betting the Marlins, so you would endorse that. Okay.
Yep. And if you want to bet the Mets to make the playoffs, don't take plus 180. You can actually just do a parlay of Brewers money line and Mets money line.
So explain that to me, Dabbundo.
Plus 213.
Why is that the case? Why is that number why the Brewers favored? Because of Peralta, they don't care. They have home field.
I mean, it's still Freddie Peralta at home. He'll probably throw 5 innings.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You only get 4 innings probably out of him, right?
Yeah, but it's also hard to throw a bait. Like the Brewers aren't going to save their best bullpen arms either. They haven't used any of their best guys, so they're going to throw them. They don't play for a week. So yes, like the Brewers don't need to win, but like what does that look like in baseball? What is throwing a baseball game or not caring?
No, I get it. I get it.
They're still playing most
this
of their
is not
best
Denver
guys.
and Kansas City in Week 18 last year when nobody played. I get it.
Yes.
I get it. My Yankees winning the division.
No, Toronto wins today.
I don't think so either. I'm with you on that. So we're in agreement here. Dabbundo has the Mets out, and I'm going to be sweating out Yankees Red Sox on Tuesday, which is going to age me by about 15 years. Okay, Dabbundo, you're red hot with these wise wagers, but there's been a theme. There has been a commonality. We know what we're getting. But hey, if it wins, it wins. Are we going back to the well in Week 4?
Of course we're going back to the well. JJ, why wouldn't we go back to the well? Look, I love this even more now. I know actually the market slightly moved against me to 39. Not too worried about it, to be honest. 39, not a key number. But Derek Stingley is in, it looks like, for Houston. I don't know how Tennessee is going to move the ball consistently in this game. Their offensive line is still not 100%. They have no weapons on the outside that I trust to win in man coverage. We know Houston's going to play a ton of aggressive man. Short of the Texans turning the ball over themselves and giving short fields to Tennessee, I think it's a nightmare matchup for Cam Ward and this offense, which has not been able to run the ball effectively and has not been consistent against solid defenses. And then look, the other side, this Houston offense has been kind of the crux of the handicap of these unders for the entirety of the season, and I'm sticking by it. Texans, Titans, under 38.5. We go for 4-0. Eventually, the well will run out. Like, I'm looking at next week, and they're playing Baltimore, and I'm like, maybe I'll pass that one. But so far, so good. We're going for 4-0. Under 38.5.
It's a great play. I give it my full-fledged stamp of approval. However, Dabbundo, this is why you're ineligible from the Wise Wager competitions, House. He keeps giving the same play every week.
Well,
the goal is to win the bets, JJ. They don't give you extra money for being creative. They don't give you. They don't say, "Oh wow, you really mixed it up this week with the Jets or the Titans or the Colts or the Rams." They didn't. I'm looking to win a bet. So far, we're 3-0.
So far, so good. I'll give you that. Okay, so you give us Titans Texans under. You got an OMG bet for us, and our pal Joe House is not going to like it.
He's not? I feel like I don't even really like it that much because Raheem and I, and Raheem has said this for years, they don't give you extra money for betting against Mahomes. That was always the saying, and that's what Raheem originated. And I felt that way a lot of the time. Like if the line is between, Chiefs -2 or they're an underdog and they're not laying more than a field goal, you just bet Mahomes, and then most of the time you win your bet and you should be pretty happy. So OMG, I'm betting against Mahomes, not just -2.5 with Baltimore, but I'm laying the -0.5 in the first half with Baltimore as well. I think there are deeper issues to this Chiefs offense than just, Worthy's out, Rice is out. Like they get nothing anymore from their underneath stuff. They're consistently not getting those 5 to 10 yard easy button plays. It's a real struggle for them. And almost all of their good offensive metrics come from just Mahomes scrambles. Like he's out there running for his life, trying to create out of structure, throwing up deep bombs, Tyquan Thornton, trying to make this work. And I'm just not really too in love with what I'm seeing from their offense. So you compare that to Baltimore. The Ravens, even I thought kind of had a bad game on Monday offensively. They still got to 30. I just think that these two teams are such different offensive planes that even with the Ravens' defensive issues, I'm willing to take Baltimore here. And they're actually the offense I trust a lot more if it's like a late game situation. I just don't.
No,
really
it's not even close, Dabbundo. It's not even close. And I understand we could talk about Lamar Jackson in the month of January and not having the hardware that Patrick Mahomes has. But how's this Chief offense to me? I know Baltimore's defense got smoked. I don't know if they have the firepower to go and take advantage. That's why I took Baltimore in the game as well. It's why we took it in the 107. In theory, everything about the handicap says Kansas City. History would say Kansas City. This version of the 2025 Chiefs, House, I'm concerned.
Yeah, and your concern is well placed and well founded. I like the Chiefs here mainly for the situation and the spot, and it's the thing that jumps out to me is on the other side of the ball. It's the Baltimore defense, which remains. We've seen this before, a unit that is very much in search of an identity, and they already have injuries up the spine that are that Detroit exploited to great success. The Chiefs are not Detroit, but the Chiefs want to win this ball game by a ball control, methodical, long drive, the old Chiefs way of squeezing the life out of football games. And if they're successful at establishing the run at all, and I think they're committed to that bit, then that creates for them the opportunity to exploit that Baltimore defense. The best way to beat the Baltimore offense, keep them off the effing field, and that's the game plan that I think it supports the idea of the Chiefs outright here.
So, JJ, I got to push back on the fact that they don't have any firepower because Xavier Worthy is playing this week. And it does feel like Mahomes and Thornton have developed some chemistry. Thornton.
I mean, it's 1 week, Raheem. After 1 week against the crummy Giants, can I see it again?
Yeah, but hear me out. If you develop some chemistry with Thornton and then you bring back Worthy, that kind of changes the calculus of things. And then when you look at the Chiefs this year, let's be real. They were in every single game. it's like we're talking about the Chiefs like they're dead and gone, but in week 1 against the Chargers, and we know those Brazil games are weird, it was a tie game down the stretch. It was literally a tie game down the stretch. You go back to that Eagles game, and the Eagles are one of the best teams in the NFC. If Travis Kelce just catches the ball, they're in the lead. And then we all know what happened last week against a bad Giants team. So I'm not sure how much we should be downgrading the Chiefs at this point in time. And it's pretty clear we have to downgrade that Ravens defense because they're one of the worst in the league.
I think you'll ultimately be right on Kansas City. I just don't think it's in this particular spot. I think this is a conversation, Raheem, that in 2 months you are going to look like an absolute effing genius on when it comes to saying buy low on the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm just not willing to do it.
I'm not even saying buy low. I just wanted to, push back for the sake of conversation because I don't even have a wager.
Listen, push back. That's what we do around here. I like pushback. Pushback is good. That is my life.
He's not prime Tyreek Hill, though. I mean, he had 600 yards receiving last year.
You guys have a wager on the game. I don't. So you guys are backing your opinion with money.
Well, let's remember this, though, Raheem. You don't have a wager, but you have a Ringer 107 pick thanks to the prop queen Ariel Epstein, who went with her heart and took the Baltimore Ravens this week. So you do, buddy boy, have a little bit of a wager in our little competition. House, I told you the Steelers are going to find a way to 10-11 wins this year. They are. They're gross. I don't know how they're doing it. They're going to be 10. Aaron Rodgers is going to be in the playoffs. Aaron Rodgers is going to win a playoff game.
That's a big stretch.
No, it's happening.
Yeah, I won't go that far, although I did at the outset of this season give out as a future the Steelers making the playoffs and losing in the first round of the playoffs, and it was very good odds. I think it was like 6-1
what was that, out of curiosity, like 5-1?
Yeah, in that right, 5-1 or 6-1. I don't remember the number exactly. But yeah, man, why would you ever bet against Tomlin as a dog?
The voodoo. I mean,
it just doesn't matter.
Dabbundo, I say it every year not doing these preseason shows. You just blindly take them over 8.5 wins until it goes under.
Look, people have been trying to time up the market on when this is finally going to be the year for Mike Tomlin to go under 500. And look, one of these years it will happen. I don't think it's this year now. I mean, it's hard to say. They're 3-1. They're going to play a lot of divisional games coming down the stretch here. I mean, we'll see what Cincinnati looks like by then.
Division games with Cincinnati are not what we thought they were going to be.
We'll see. I don't know. I'm not giving up on my Bengals yet.
They're not what we thought they were going to be. And that is a nice little transition. Organic, might I add. Because you have a bet for us that's a man's best bet. And my jaw dropped when I saw this because of the price. And I know that you have a certain agenda that right now is justified, Dabbundo. I got to give you credit on this because you are not one of these mile-high Kool-Aid sipping Denver Bronco people. You were out. You were out on the Broncos at the start of the year. Right now, you're looking pretty good on that at 1-2. You think there's a world the Broncos could be 1-3? Make the case.
I do. Look, I only bet one underdog against the spread this week, so my pickings were slim for the man's best bet. But I do think Cincinnati's decently live, and we just saw this. I mean, look at what happens in week to week across the NFL. We just watched Minnesota completely destroy Cincinnati last week. Everybody's sipping the Minnesota Kool-Aid this week. The market moves 2 points toward Minnesota from the open. They open to pick them. They close -2.5. Everybody's on Minnesota. And until a late little charge here, they kind of got worked by a Pittsburgh team that nobody seems to love. And I kind of think the opposite is true, right? Everybody's kind of writing off Cincinnati because they lost an embarrassing game on the road at Minnesota with Browning making the start and multiple turnovers in that Flores defense. And I understand the concept that this could go very similarly to last week where they're facing an aggressive defense that's going to bring pressure and force mistakes, and Denver's going to dominate. I understand that. But this number is ridiculous now. 7.5 and plus 340. I couldn't get anywhere near it. And I talked about this with Sal on Friday on our show. Cincinnati closed -3.5 at home in week 17 last year. If you flip home field and just take Burrow out, you'd get to like Denver -5. And that's without downgrading Denver for how bad they've been. I mean, their offense is bottom 3. It's like Houston, Tennessee, and Denver. Those are the 3 offenses that can't do anything this year. I want no part of Denver. So give me the Bengals. I think the key to this game, if the Bengals line can hold up just a little, it's going to be Higgins against Moss and Chase taking advantage of what I think is a little bit of an overrated secondary in Denver this year. Their front's very good, but their secondary I have questions. So, yeah, Bengals plus 340, man's best bet.
You're taking a shot. Raheem, they have to take care of the football. I get the narrative of Browning being able to move the ball on the Denver defense. There's a lot of validity in that. We saw when Browning has been a quarterback in the past. You're just not going to be able to win this game outright for sure. And I think you're going to have a hard time covering 7.5, Dream, if Jake Browning is going to be a turnover machine. If he throws 2 or more picks in this game, this bet is absolutely cooked.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. I mean, you look at Jake Browning, he has a 5.9% turnover-worthy throw rate. But I think you could say the same thing about Bo Nix. He has a 5% turnover throw rate. So I think both of these teams have to worry about not turning the ball over. But I think the advantage is definitely for Denver in that they have the better defense. But to Anthony's point, the look-ahead line on this game before the preseason was Denver minus 2.5. You got to ask
Joe Burrow, though. Joe Burrow.
I mean, but you got to ask yourself, is Joe Burrow worth 5 points in this offense? I'm not sure that's the case. I think Anthony tends to think that, maybe he's not worth that many points, and I probably agree.
I mean, I would have bet Cincinnati plus 2.5 for a lot of money if they played Denver in week 4 and Burrow was healthy. But yeah, I think 4 points, 5 points is probably reasonable. But again, I don't agree with the look ahead line. So again, Cincinnati closed minus 3.5. Both teams needed the game. Week 17, Denver's offense was playing better. Denver's defense was honestly playing better. And Cincinnati won that game. It was kind of like a coin flippy type crazy back and forth. But I don't understand how it can be over a touchdown.
Boys, let's take a look at the Ringer 107 for week 4. And sorry, Joe House, Minnesota gives you an 0-1 start with the Podfather.
We're 1-0.
I see a couple of Pittsburghs on there. Fantasy guys had Pittsburgh. You and Sally had Pittsburgh. Raheem, we're riding with our wise wagers here. Oh, no, we're not, because we didn't take the Rams. I didn't get buy-in from you and Ariel. Need the Patriots, need Vegas. It's funny, we need Vegas, but Raheem took Chicago as a man's best bet, so he didn't like that one. You know what it is, Raheem? We had the Patriots together. I had to give you something different,
I think, part of it is, too, when we're doing this show, we kind of have to find an underdog. And, everybody was on Jacksonville. I think I like the 3.5.
You want to be different. I get it.
Yeah, I like the 3.5 more than I like the money line. But, you got to find a dog, and sometimes it's tough. But I got a question for anybody listening. Which team do you think is favorite? You can write this in the YouTube comments. You can write this on Twitter. You can tag Bill Simmons.
I love you asking the YouTube audience to give us a comment literally as we're about to sign off the show.
I know who's not the favorite.
Before we started the Ringo 107, and this is no diss to my guy House, but Bill said that Bill and House were the favorites. And right now, they in last
Raheem,
place.
I don't want any smack talk from I'm pulling a Bill Belichick right now. We are not going to have smack talk 4 weeks into a competition because I'm shutting that down in my locker room.
I just want to know the
At the end of the year, you can hold up the paper and talk all sorts of crap, okay?
I'm not smack talking. I just want to know the opinion of the general public, who they think is going to win.
Fantasy guys. It has to be the fantasy guys. That would be the funniest outcome, right?
That would definitely be
Shield. Shield last year was money with the picks.
He was.
He definitely was.
Money. Could have been hotter. Before we say goodbye, Joe House, give me a Ryder Cup bet.
John Rahm, take care of business today against Xander Schauffele. Bonus bet, JJ Spawn over Sepp Straka. That's my best bet. Get on there right now. It's available.
I'm doing it. And listen, from one JJ to another, I got to do it. I got to do it. The matchups have been great to me. They've been great to me in the Ryder Cup. But betting on my country, not so much. The moral of the story is I should have listened to my guy, Joe House. I should have listened.
2 years from now, you'll have another chance.
That's it. I'll just bet on the Europeans again. That's going to do it for Week 4 Ringer Sunday pregame. For Anthony Dabbundo, Raheem
before
Palmer,
we go,
Joe
Ace
House.
is 140 to win the WNBA title. They're going to win this
There you go. Parting thought from Raheem. JJ signing off. We'll see you next week. Be good, everybody.